All right, all right. Hello, Ramya. How are you?
I'm good, Amit. How are you? Nice to
Oh,
see you here, and of course, for having me as well. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. I always say to all my guests, all my 28 and your 29th guest, that the pleasure is mine because you're giving me the opportunity to reach my mission to touch lives of people with impactful stories that, of course, people have shared and what you're going to share now. So, thank you very much.
My
All right.
pleasure.
Now, perfect. Before I give it to Ramya, let me first introduce her. Ramya is a career coach helping mid to senior level professionals globally in a career transition, to driving their career ownership. Today, Ramya shares a very personal story. She shares how coming out of a grief of her father's death and finding herself using the arts of kintsugi, a Japanese technique, helped her to mold her life into what she is today. She learned that she cannot please everyone and spent her time and energy to focus on herself. She's at a point in her life now where she has her own business, drive your career ownership, and loves to help and guide people. Wow, that's really touchy and inspiring, and I'm sure people love to know what happened and how you moved forward, Ramya. So if you may please.
Thank you, Amit, for the wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I am currently based in Melbourne. So, my husband is Australian, and I moved here in September 2019. So, I'm a Singaporean. I grew up and, did my education and everything in Singapore. So, sometime in June 2018, that's when my father passed away. So it was a very challenging period for me because at that point in time I was feeling all the thoughts or whatever you could actually call it, which is associated with grief. And I felt that I was in a very dark space, and the hero of my life is like permanently physically gone. And it actually took me a little bit of time to really move forward. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I personally learned from grief, from losing a loved one, is that you can never fully move forward with grief. But the grief actually kind of stays on with you. It's almost like a shadow. But what you can actually do is that there are certain bits and pieces of you which would never fully be the same. And that's what I felt with when I was reading up on kintsugi, which is actually the Japanese art. So what happens is that if you have like a ceramic piece or a broken glass or something like that, so all the broken pieces, you can actually kind of like reconstruct it and form a beautiful artifact. So it won't look the same as it did before, but there is a certain beauty behind it because of all the broken fractures and the pieces coming in together. So it's pretty much, I think, what sums up life itself, because all these broken pieces, all these, broken fragments of your life, when you're taking the time to heal yourself and you're taking the time to move forward, and slowly you're discovering and rediscovering certain bits about you which you never knew that existed. So that's exactly how I found myself. So during the process, there were a few people who moved away from me, and those people were actually once upon a time very, very close to me. So together with the grief of losing my dad, I was also quite, at one point in time, quite depressed when some of my really close friends moved away from me because I was taking the time to heal myself, and I needed the time for myself. So that is when I realized that you can't please every single person in this world. It's very, very tough, and you can never do that. So the one thing you can constantly do is you don't have complete control over others, over the way they think or the way they do things, but you can always control the way you react, the way you feel, or the choices that you make. I know it sounds perhaps a little bit cliched. A lot of people say, similar things as well. But trust me when I say this, whether it's personal life or professional life, it's the choices that we make that pretty much, I think, defines, how we are going to be acting the next moment. And, sometimes we learn through the good and the bad and the mundane and whatever you call it. But I think pretty much this is what really defines us and shapes us. So if you're living our lives trying to live a perfect imitation of someone else, we are not really going to be happy. So that's just what I've actually learned so far. And that's really what I wanted to be sharing today, mainly.
Wow. Wow. I, when you mentioned about the analogy of the a glass or a bowl or a that broken piece, I think I recall of an image where it's joined with the lining of a gold or something,
Mm. Yeah, that's
right?
what Kintsugi really is, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
They
I didn't.
actually they add in like gold, or I mean, I've not done this myself. I'm not really an art person, but that's what I've actually read about. So that's the beauty of Kintsugi. So if you were to compare it with your life, yeah, it's beautiful because you're basically filling in all those spaces and scars with something beautiful, something more profound, and yeah, something wonderful actually emerges. Yeah.
Wow, wow. So, and I just tell me some things because I can. Again, I'll not take it to the my story, but I understand one thing is that when you have a loss, a personal loss, a human loss, okay, there is definitely a big void that is into your system, right? And how did it, I mean, what happened exactly? And you don't have to share all the details, but I just want to know what exactly happened where your some of your closed people, whom you had to part away with, what was the nature of conflict, or where was that understanding gap between that? I'm just trying to understand the human psychology. I mean, see,
Mm.
because for filling up the void it takes time, right?
Yeah.
And human loss, specifically when it's your parents,
Mm.
it does take a certain amount of energy or
Mm.
mind calming thing
Yep.
to accept. Okay, let me
Yep.
put it this way. So what was that what was that expectation people had from you that you were not able to fulfill as per them, and
Mm.
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so the main thing that happened was that for over a decade, with these particular group of people in my life, I was always there for them, always going my way out for them, and I enjoyed doing it. And in return, they would actually do the same thing as well. So what happened? The difference that actually came about after my dad's passing was that I was no longer, spending the same amount of time with them that I did before, because I actually preferred to be alone. I preferred to take time for myself, and I was really in a space where I needed that mental space. So that was perhaps maybe hard for the other parties to understand. So that's just when I realized that when you need time to grieve, when you are dealing with a profound, irreplaceable loss in your life, you have to be there for yourself. And, you have actually spent, like, I mean, in my case, I've actually spent like quite a decade, being there for people, going my way out, doing things. But this was finally the time I realized that I had to be there for myself. If not, I would actually break down. And this is not about being selfish or self-centered, but it's really about keeping myself sane. And that's just how important it was. So if if people couldn't understand it, then it's unfortunate. But that's how I think sometimes human nature is. So they can't fully understand it because they have probably never experienced certain incidents like that in their own lives. So they find it perhaps hard to understand why someone who was spending so much time with them would suddenly just move themselves away. So
I I agree. I agree to the point that we all need a me time. Uh, Even if things are fine, you still need a me time.
yeah.
And of course, when life shatters in a way, because I understand one thing is that the person who is dead, but there are others who are living that situation, going through it, and there's a lot happening to others who were related to that person. So actually that's the major impact, and of course, whatever whoever has passed away, you need a certain time, and these are the times actually people think and rethink, like,
Mm.
okay, what has happened to me, like I understand. And it's a little unfortunate to know that some people don't understand that, and
Mm.
you have to part with them, which is a little disheartening. But yeah, like you said, sometimes you have to do certain things which are not gonna
Yeah.
please, not gonna please everybody.
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So share the journey, if you don't mind, with me from Singapore to Australia. And now I believe that your father and all of you were in Singapore, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Yeah, my family is based in Singapore. I'm Singaporean,
okay.
so yeah, I moved here in September 2019. To be very honest, I knew that I wanted to start something on my own, but I wasn't sure when exactly I'd be doing it. And to be very frank with you, I was actually having my own limiting beliefs as well, because I was thinking to myself, it's a new country. I've not exactly worked in this country before. Should I maybe take some time to start my own business? Or even if I do something, would people take notice of me and this and that? So I was actually having a mini imposter syndrome going on. So I started my business last year during the pandemic. So one thing I've actually realized moving from corporate all the way to starting your own entrepreneurial journey is that I feel that it is such a self transformational journey. There is so much that you are learning constantly about yourself, like what really works for you, what doesn't work for you. And there's always going to be competition in any industry, but personally for myself, I am my own competition. I don't compare myself with others, and it has actually taken me so long just to reach this stage where I can actually say that. Because at one point in time, I would be getting pretty anxious and stressed out with others who are perhaps ahead of me or doing well. But to be very honest, I have actually changed my thinking. So when I knew that, okay, I wanted to move into career coaching, it was because I was actually coming in from my previous experience as a recruiter. And I know that this is an area that I'm deeply passionate about. And even as a recruiter, I was actually coaching and mentoring my candidates. So this is something that I felt that it was actually more like a calling for me. And um, if you ask me if it is challenging, yeah, sure, it is challenging. I don't think anything is going to be, absolutely easy. But I believe in focusing on what exactly you're passionate about, and at the same time having a strong purpose as well. So if you're just doing something that you're passionate about, I don't think that itself is a very good motivation. So the common, kind of advice that's given is to follow your dream. But I personally think it is really vague, and it's perhaps not the best kind of advice, because you could be following your dreams, but you also need to, I mean, like what Simon Sinek says, it's about starting with your why. You need to know why you're doing certain things. Well, for me, I think my why is pretty clear, because I know that I really want to be in a position as a woman of color, helping more mid to senior level professionals, especially if they are coming in from a person of color background, such as myself, and we're going through career transitions and changes in their career journey, and especially if they're moving to a new country. So as a career engagement and transition coach, that is really where I'm focusing.
Sorry. Wow, that's interesting. Sorry. Because as far as I know, there's many people who keep moving to Australia. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So, and definitely there's it always gives an assurance to somebody's mind that you have someone who can take care of certain things in your life, right? Especially when it comes to career, because
Mm,
that's like the most pressing thing for anybody.
mm.
It's like the bread and butter earner, right? So that's fantastic. Let me ask you this. So during your journey now to career coach, and just for everyone, I know Ramya shared with this before, I'm sorry, you have started a streak of everyday online videos. Like, I think you go live almost every single day, am I correct?
No, I actually go live on Wednesdays and Fridays, and I do put out some videos
Videos.
in between as well. So Wednesdays
Yeah.
and Fridays are my LinkedIn live shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know one thing, probably, but I have seen your videos almost every single day during that pandemic's time. And I think
Yeah.
you also finished your 100 videos of
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
like 100 days or 100 videos
Yeah.
streak.
100 videos. Yeah.
Yes. I remember that post because I make it a point that, I listen to, you can't listen to everyone in
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I've got 3,000 odd connection. Not everyone posts either. But you definitely make sure you pick up your top 10 people and you always look out for their posts, right? And for me, you are one of them that I make sure to listen to your videos every
Thank
time.
you.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I always see your name pop up in my comments as well. So thanks for the
Yeah.
engagement. Really appreciate
Oh yeah,
that.
definitely. It is interesting. It is knowledgeable, and at the end of the day, I get one tip. So it's like you share a tip with me every
Yeah.
day. So, and if you're taking the efforts, all I have to do is sit and listen and absorb it, right? So why not? All right, share with me about the EMPTIS. I mean, the name, how you started. What do you do now? A little more detail.
Yeah. So impetus is basically it's derived from two words, empower and impetus. So empower is really about seeking, the power from within and basically empowering yourself with that knowledge, that wisdom, the strength, that inner strength that is actually coming in within you. And impetus is basically is the drive to actually do something. What are you building on? So impetus is basically a combination of these two words. So when I was brainstorming names for my business, and this is actually quite funny because I think setting up a business is actually easier compared to picking a name that basically resonates with you and you feel really comfortable with that name. So it actually took me a little bit of time. I was brainstorming different names, but somehow when I was thinking about impetus, okay, it basically stood out for me. So that's just a quick history of that. But essentially, like I mentioned, as a career engagement and transition coach, I typically focus on mid to senior level professionals who are actually transitioning. So when I mean by career transition, most people would actually think that career transition is referring to doing a career move itself. So a career search, for instance, but it isn't just limited to only a career search. It could be someone who is thinking of a search, maybe not searching yet, but contemplating a move. So this could be maybe pivoting to a new industry, or they are not really sure about the direction that they should be taking, or the person is already doing the career search. I mean, they are in the midst of a career search, but it has been a little unsuccessful so far. They're feeling quite stuck. Or there are people who would have actually found a job, they would have gotten a new employment, but they still need a little bit of guidance, perhaps in terms of, like, let's say leadership or something like that. So career transition and engagement would be my key priority. And as based on that, my services would fall in three areas. So the first is career transition. Secondly, I'm actually also doing, as a coach, I'm also advising and coaching on personal branding, especially on LinkedIn, etc. And lastly, of course, in cultural intelligence. So this would be something that I'm offering from February this year onwards. So cultural intelligence becomes extremely important these days, and especially when you're talking about a globally diverse economy, a globally diverse work environment, and when you have professionals and business leaders who are transitioning to a different country where the culture could be entirely different, it is so important that cultural intelligence coaching takes center stage. So, as a careers coach, these are my key focus areas.
Wow. Oh, quite interesting. And specifically, you're absolutely right. Cultural intelligence coaching. I mean, that's cultural coaching intelligence. Did I say it correct?
Cultural intelligence coaching.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No
Cultural
problem.
intelligence. See, I
Yeah.
see. Now I remember it that way.
Thank
So,
you.
cultural, cultural intelligence coaching. No, that's jokes apart. I mean, that is really, really important. And I completely
Yeah.
agree that with the globalization world we are in, yeah, that's going to help a lot of people in many ways. That's a fantastic initiative you are actually taking it up with, of course, both others as well, the career transition and coaching. And this will give that leverage and a comfort to learn about, other people and things like that. So fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so now we're almost at the end of the session, and I just want to ask two things to you. First is that, do you have advice to people specifically who are into career transition or who land new and they're like, okay, where am I? What should I do?
Mhm.
So those clueless people, do you have any advice for those folks?
Yeah. So one of the things that I notice, and I think it actually leads to a lot of confusion in a lot of people, is that especially mid to senior level professionals who are thinking of moving to a new job, or who are still feeling stuck in their jobs, or maybe they lack direction, is that when it comes to consuming knowledge, I think most of us, we are really good at doing that, because we are actually living in an era which is really very, very fast when it comes to absorbing knowledge. I mean, just at the a touch of a screen on your phone or your tablets or whatever, I mean, you're able to get news very, very fast. And it's not exactly knowledge, it's more about consumption of information. So what it means is that a lot of people actually mistake coaching to be advising. So whatever videos I'm putting out, whatever LinkedIn lives I'm doing, I'm not actually coaching. So coaching is more than, just advising someone. In fact, as a coach, we don't advise people. So that is why coaching is not exactly about giving advice on a silver platter. It's really about me guiding you towards empowering you towards your own solutions. And that is actually supposed to be a very powerful transformational experience, both for the person who is being coached and for the coach as well. So, having said that, my advice to anyone who is feeling lost, the more they are consuming free resources, free advice, free this, free that, is to firstly take a step back and to really be reflecting on what exactly do they want at this point in time. And if possible, if they feel that they have done a lot of efforts, if they have put in a lot of work and they're still not seeing results, I think it's also important to, look forward to working with a professional and open up to being coached. Because one of the things, I think one of the concerns that people might have is in terms of maybe time, or maybe a return on their investment, maybe they're not sure. That is okay. But I think it is important to at least approach the right people and get advice. So if you're a student, who are actually feeling really lost, and you do not know where is the right kind of career direction, you could actually ask someone in your university. And there are lots of like free resources available as well, like professional resources, but it could be free as well for those who are on a very tight budget. But I personally feel that the more we keep consuming and consuming without actually taking action, I don't think it leads to anywhere. It's pretty useless, in fact, because we are going back to the same position again. So it's back to square one. So take action. So thinking leads to action only when you are clear in your purpose, and you're really focused on what you really want to be achieving.
True, true. I call those people who don't take actions as learning junkies. You just keep feeding in, feeding in, feeding
Yeah.
in, and yeah, it's in my storytelling world. There's a we have a hormone called as dopamine, and the way it happens is once you read something, you're all charged up, and then the dopamine level goes
Mm,
high and it slows down after a day or two. So instead of taking action, which is a difficult part, people read another
mm,
book, and they go another book, and they go another
yeah.
book. But I absolutely agree, everyone needs coaches and mentors around them. And you need to, and you said it very beautifully, that coaching actually helps you. It's a very tender relationship. And unfortunately, I agree with you on a fact that most of the people don't understand it, because they really want things that Ramya would say or Amit would say, hey, do this, this, and there
Mhm.
you go, that's the silver platter, eat it
Mm,
up.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough job for you.
I think every job is tough in its own ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My last question, this
Mm.
is a generic one that I ask everyone, is that do you feel stories or storytelling is important? And if yes, why so?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think storytelling is important because the stories that we tell, I mean, especially whether it's personal stories or stories of, which actually have a certain message. And even if you're looking at storytelling from a professional lens, what exactly are the takeaway lessons for the people who are listening to those stories? And some of these stories, especially if you look at for people who are coming in from a minority ethnic background, sometimes a certain culture is only thriving because of the stories which are passed down through generations. And most of these stories, they're not even written down. There may not be any facilities for some of these stories to be written down, but it's just passed through oral storytelling, which is incredibly special. But it also points to the fact that how precious some of these stories are. Why is it so important? Because I feel that for the next generation who are listening to such stories, in a way, I feel that the soul is actually within these stories, like for generations who are lost and forgotten, or people who have actually gone through certain experiences. In a way, bits and pieces of their soul can be found in these stories. And if you forget these stories, it's about like, it's almost equal to forgetting those people as well. So it's about keeping things alive. It's about, I think, keeping certain traditions alive. So whether you're talking about stories on a personal level, whether it's professional or whatever, there is always going to be a profound message that actually needs to be communicated and taken away. And I think I for one, I love stories myself, and I love listening to stories. So obviously, this is incredibly special to me.
Wow, wow. I must applaud for the. I mean, you gave us such a profound answer. I never heard such a comment. Bits and pieces of soul, and you remember, and if you lose them, and it's been passed on from it was amazing. Amazing. I mean, you just explained storytelling so very nicely. Is that I just loved it. It just touched my heart and my soul in a way. So thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. I'm gonna use that, by the way, sharing it out to the world as well. Fantastic, fantastic. That was a one of the finest explanations of why stories are important that I've heard since a long, long time.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank
Great,
you.
great,
Yeah,
Ramya.
I really
And we
enjoy
got
myself. Yeah, you're such a good host.
No, we got some likes on the Facebook, I believe, because they are not able to. I can't see the comment. Thank you, StreamYard, for that. And now we are at the end of the show. If you want to connect with Ramya, I have put the details for her sites and LinkedIn links on all the three platforms. So you can find it there. Feel free to probably ping her as well. You can always connect with her on LinkedIn, drop a message, and she will connect back to you. And if you want to connect with me, of course, and share the impactful story like Ramya did, please ping me and we will touch base and see how we can get time and put it out. All right. Till then, Ramya, thank you very much once again for honoring the show and coming on and giving such a wonderful story, your personal story. It's very difficult to share sometimes the personal stories. First, thank you very much for doing it. And
My
thank you very much for the
pleasure.
wonderful work.
Thank you so much, Amit. I mean, for giving me an opportunity to be on your show, and I think it's a wonderful show. So, for those of you who are, looking to connect with Amit, please do so. I've actually been, I think we have both been connected for quite some time now on LinkedIn, and yeah, it's just incredible. I mean, I've been seeing your journey unfold as well, and I'm really proud of you. So, wishing you the very best, and look forward to catching up when you're in Melbourne.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very
All right.
much. And yeah, definitely. Hopefully, next month I should be in Melbourne as well. All right,
Wonderful.
perfect. So, thank you, all the viewers who have been live and your likes and your comments. And thank you to all the viewers who are going to watch this in recording. And Ramya, once again, have a wonderful rest of the evening and have a good day.
Thank you, Amit. You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.